Okay, perfect. Right, so welcome officially to the talk today. Today we're going to be talking all about managing our mental health and stress, especially during the holiday season, because we know with it being everything with Corona and everything that's happened, it's been very, very difficult. So super quick, a little bit about me. So I'm a member of the British Psychological Society. I'm a UK qualified behavioural therapist, cognitive behavioural therapist, rational emotive behavioural therapist, clinical hypnotherapist, and a neuro-linguistic practitioner. So it's a bit of a mouthful. I'm also a massive lifelong learner, which is something that I think is the most important out of all of them. I've had some experience in the NHS, which is back in the UK, and worked in the Neuro Centre, and I've worked in schools, and currently I'm running my own practice with seeing one-to-one clients, currently all online, as well as a inspirational platform on social media and online called Inspire with Yas. So that's me. Right, so firstly, I just want to start this off with this quote, because I feel like this is a really good reminder of why we're here today, to focus on how we can actually begin to give the world the best of us rather than what's left of us. Because when we focus on our mental health and our emotional health, it's actually not just for ourselves, but it's actually for our loved ones, and it creates a ripple effect then to everyone around us. So this is why we're here today, and thank you guys all honestly for joining. So did you know that averagely we have from 12,000 to 60,000 thoughts a day? And 80% of them are negative, and 95% of them, this was like the true game changer, are actually recycled thoughts from the day before. So that's why it's so key for us to really bring awareness into this and into our thought process and our mindset and our mental health, so we can actually be aware of all of this. So this is like findings that have been due to Corona and the symptoms of anxiety and depression that have increased with everything going on. This is just literally the statistics in the US from May up until July. And if you think about it, we're now in November. So as you can see, there's an increase. So with that as well, now we're in November, can you imagine the increase of symptoms of anxiety and depression worldwide, not just US, not just UK, it's globally. So it's been such a difficult year. So this is why we are here today, to actually begin to narrow down the biggest pain points that we have, especially during this holiday season. So with my clients, the biggest pain points that I've found is these three. So negative thinking, uncertainty with expectations, and then this family relationships and communication. So we're going to be tackling each one of these, and I'll be providing you guys with some practical tools to help cope with these, especially during the season. So let's first get started. So raise your hands. I can't fully see you guys all there, but I'll be raising my hand so you guys can raise your hands as well. So raise your hand if you find yourself usually focused on what went wrong. I'm guilty of this. Or you remember that one incident in your day that one person that said something, or that one person that like cut you off on the road. You only remember that with the rest of your day. Or you focus on the things that you haven't achieved, or you dwell on your mistakes. So literally my hand's up, like it didn't come down. And I'm sure a lot of you guys are also having your hands up, saying like, actually that's actually, I'm quite the same. And this is because we actually refer to this in psychology as the negative bias. So we actually have this negative bias that's hardwired into our brains, and that's due to evolutionary. Previously, we actually needed this element of our brains because we were wired to seek out threats. It was a matter of like life and death. Previously, we'd always need to notice the negative things. But now we still have this hardwiring, but we're no longer in like the caveman times, or there isn't that sense of threat to danger anymore. Yet it's still hardwired into us. And with that, we actually have something called cognitive distortions. So this, if you're interested in, you can actually go and research it. There's so much cognitive distortions that we have. What cognitive distortion basically is unhelpful thoughts that we have. So these are two very specific ones that are in relation to negative thinking, and these actually then fuel negative thinking. And then with the negative thinking, it becomes a habit, which then leads to burnout. So one of them is filtering, like we said previously, focusing only on the negative. The catastrophizing, so it is expecting only the worst case scenario, which I'm sure we all do. So these unhelpful thoughts or add to our negative thinking, which then leads to burnout. So I'm going to provide you guys with two very simple practical tools to help cope when it comes to negative thinking. So the first one is a pattern interrupt. So I'm sure when you first seen that stop sign, it's like, whoa, okay. So we've actually been conditioned with this stop sign. With your red stop, we automatically stop, especially when we're driving, when we're walking. It's like a signal that we all respond to quite quickly. So when you catch yourself, negatively thinking, or you're down spiraling, or you're thinking about something, and then you catch yourself out, say the word stop to you. You can say it out loud, even if people are around you, it doesn't matter. Say it out loud, and then visualize this stop sign in your mind. What this does, it actually takes you back into the conscious mind to actually break the pattern of negative thinking. Because we previously said that negative thinking is just a pattern. It's subconscious. So when we say this, we have this pattern interrupt, we actually then bring awareness to our thoughts, and then it puts you in the position of power. It puts you in that position of, okay, now that I've found myself negatively thinking, what do I do next? How is this helping me? It'll make you feel empowered to actually direct your focus elsewhere. So this is the first one to do, a pattern interrupt. It's something so simple, but so powerful. And I found it so powerful with my clients as well. So the second step, so after having a pattern interrupt, so what do you do? The next step is to change your state. So we'll dive into that now. How do you change your state? So there's three things that in order to change your state. So this is the emotional triad that we actually have in neurolinguistic programming. So it's your physiology, your focus, and your language. These three elements, when we begin to change them, you'll realize that your state changes, which then actually helps you snap out of that negative thinking spiral that we're actually caught in, especially even more now with everything happening with with COVID and just in general. So let's focus on the first one. So the first one is physiology. So I've got a question for you guys. When you're in a negative thinking spiral, or you're feeling worried, what does your body look like? You can type it in the chat. Think about what your shoulders look like. What's your body language? Where are your eyes? What's your breathing like? So you can just type it in the chat about what do you think your body looks like when you are negatively thinking? We might not think about it. We think, oh no, but I'm negatively thinking in my mind, but it actually reflects into our body. So examples can be, slouched shoulders. It could be closed body language. It can be low voice. It can be no eye contact. So there's a certain physiology when it comes to negatively thinking or feeling worried or anxious. And with that, there's actually another physiology when it comes to feeling joyful, feeling excited. So, for example, when you are feeling joyful or excited, or you're focusing on something that's more positive, naturally, without even realizing, your shoulders are up, you're smiling, your hands might be in the air if you're super excited. If you might be moving around, you might be breathing more full. So energy is created by motion. There's a lot of mind-body connection here that we often don't actually realize. So changing your physiology can really help with the negative thinking. Then next is your focus. So whatever you focus your thoughts on actually expands. So just like this visual here, everything that we focus on expands. So I want you to just take a moment and actually think to yourself, is there anything right now that you're feeling really proud of, or that you are super excited about. You can literally just take a moment, you can close your eyes, you can think about it. Absolutely anything that makes you feel really proud. So to take that moment and just, what are you thinking? Like, what is your body like? Are you smiling? There's when we focus on certain things, this then helps with how we then react. So, for example, if you're focusing on wanting to feel good, so if you focus on last time that you were proud of yourself, you'll naturally begin to start feeling, a bit better. Or you focus on the love that's around you, or the things that you're grateful for, or the value that you provide by just being you, your strengths, your attributes. When we begin to direct our focus towards these elements, rather than, what we haven't achieved or our mistakes, or, especially like focusing on the worst case scenario, there's a different energy that holds to each one. So the next one is your language. So as I said previously, like the energy that when it comes to focus, every word that we use and every phrase that we use holds a certain energy. So with the language that you use, if you're constantly negatively criticizing yourself, and I know we actually criticize ourselves the most, like our inner critic is like the harshest. So if you begin to bring awareness to how are you speaking to yourself, what language are you using on your day-to-day, whether you're working from home, whether you're starting, online school, whatever it is, like what language do you have? Like bring awareness to that. And if you start using words like, what, I can do this. I have many strengths to work out. I can make this happen. This all holds a different type of presence when you're thinking about these elements. So that is how to firstly, this is regarding the first pain point that we discussed that is biggest, which is the negative thinking. So it's the pattern interrupt, followed by the changing your state through these three elements. So then the second pain point here that we actually are feeling a lot right now, especially with the season coming up, and especially with 2021 just around the corner, we've all had big plans, right, or goals for this year. So who here has had, plans or goals or had expectations for how, 2020 was going to be? You can raise your hand or you can type it in the chat and say me, because like I did too. Most people did. They had plans. We had a certain way of thinking what 2020 was going to be like. But then, of course, the year happened. So the first part I want us to actually sit and actually do here is to acknowledge that this is actually grief. We're grieving our goals and expectations. I know grief is quite a heavy word, but it's true. It can even be events. It can be people who wanted to actually go somewhere, certain holidays, certain events. They all got cancelled, and there's this sense of grief that comes attached to that. And acknowledging and actually realizing this is grief alone is actually very, very powerful, because then you don't think, oh, I'm making a big deal out of it. It's actually something that's really real. And the second thing is to be compassionate on yourself. It's been a hard year worldwide, globally, and there was no rule book. There was no, this happened before, we know exactly what to do. It completely caught us all off guard. So the power of self-compassion is so needed, especially now, especially when we have the holidays coming up, and then we have 2021, around the corner, with things still being quite uncertain, with jobs being quite uncertain, with a lot of young professionals, unsure about what their next step is, their goals haven't been achieved. So be compassionate on yourself. That's one of the biggest things, biggest takeaways I really want you guys to take from here today. And to bring awareness to your focus on your language. Are you focused on, again, what you haven't achieved this whole year? Or can you actually begin to focus on, I've actually overcome a lot. This has been a hard year, but wow, I've made out the other side. So when you focus on that instead, it gives you that sense of empowerment. And it's never too late. It's never too late to go back. It's never too late to go back to your why, to reset new goals. Because 2021's around the corner. 2020 didn't pan out the way we expected, but it really isn't. It's never too late. So sit back and actually think, okay, why do I want to do this? Reassess and then set goals. Set goals for 2020. Set goals from now. Not even I'm going to wait till 2021. Set goals from now. And the third pain point here that we have is feeling misunderstood by loved ones. So this is quite a really big one. I actually work with a lot of clients on this specific one, especially when it comes to around the holidays, that the time that we're currently in. Because people think, you know, like you're around family a lot more, even if it is currently via Zoom, or you're currently living with them because you moved in with them because of, you know, certain circumstances. But feeling misunderstood, it's really painful, and especially when it comes from loved ones. So it's a human need to feel, you know, seen, to feel validated, to feel heard. It's something that we all require. So one of the biggest things that we often do, and to be honest, I'm guilty of this myself, we expect our family members to just know what we're thinking. You know, we think, okay, they should just know what you know, I feel this way. They should just know. Who else does this? This happens in a lot of relationships. You know, he should just know that I felt this way about it. But our families or loved ones or our friends, they're not mind readers. They don't actually know whether it's something that's hurting you or something that's upsetting you. They don't actually know. So one of the biggest things that I want to share here is to guide them. So actually ask yourself, okay, what do I want from my loved ones? Because sometimes when we're, you know, feeling vulnerable, or we have concerns, or we have problems, we just want someone to listen to us and not offer advice, and not give us any, you know, like, do this or do that. We don't want that. We just want a space to be listened to. So ask yourself, do you want to be listened to, or do you actually want advice, or do you just want to feel validated? So simply asking yourself this question before talking to loved ones gives you an idea about, you know, I actually just want to be listened to, and then communicate that. Actually, you know, I'm just going to share this, and I want you to listen, or I would like some advice on this, or I just want you to listen as non-judgmentally as possible. So guide them toward what you actually want. And that alone will really enhance the relationship that you have with your loved ones, especially with the season coming up and spending more time with them. And the second thing here is to reassess your expectations, because I'm going to be completely honest and transparent. Sometimes our family or our loved ones won't fully actually understand us, and that's okay. The goal isn't for them to understand you, or to change you or change them, because that doesn't happen. The goal is to actually have that secure base to operate from, to communicate. The goal is to open a channel of communication. That's the goal. And when you have that, you can operate from a much more secure place with your loved ones. So these are 2 tips to actually begin to incorporate when it comes to family relationships and communication with the season coming up as well. So the last thing here that I want to share with you all is the reminder. So just a few reminders. Is the first one is to, honestly, there is no right or wrong way to feel. There really isn't. It's literally a spectrum. There isn't, oh, I shouldn't be feeling this way, especially when we should ourselves, like, I shouldn't be feeling this way. No, every emotion is a messenger. It tells us something. It tells us something, whether or not right, we're not feeling a certain thing, and that's okay. It's human to feel. There's no sense of it's courage. It's just incredible for us to fully feel the human experience we are meant to feel, and to not bypass emotions. When we feel certain emotions, which we label as, you know, negative, we then bypass them. We just sort of shove them down, like, no, I'm not going to feel this way. But again, that's not the way that we're actually meant to allow certain emotions to flow through. And having added guilt or shame doesn't help, because either way you're going to feel the emotion. So this is why I wanted to end this on. Emotions will come either way. So will you allow them to flow through or meet them with resistance? So this is what I wanted to leave you guys with, and I hope you guys have some practical tips on tackling each of the pain points that are quite common, especially during this time, and to just remind yourself that you're really doing the best that you can. Take it day by day and connect with amazing communities like these, like online communities, especially with everything that's been going on. So yeah, so that's just, thank you. These are the social media platforms and my email. If you guys want to connect there or chat or absolutely anything. So that's it. I will stop sharing my screen and head back to the main
Thank
stage.
you. Thank you, Yas. This was absolutely great. How does everyone feel about this? Did you have any questions? I was feeling, especially when you said about families, in families or about family members putting unrealistic expectations and not quite understanding because we've never really been through this pandemic before. I think some of our parents haven't even remembered how it felt like being at war, because it's very intense. We're locked in, and we feel heightened. I mean, everyone heightened tension. Everyone's here in Canada, for example, people have become germaphobes. You know, the fact that someone won't enter the elevator with me because they are afraid of me, that puts me in a state of much higher levels of anxiety. So I felt like this was incredible in the sense that we have become a little bit more aware, and the tools that we can use to navigate that. Now, my question is for everyone here: what questions do you have for Yas? And I mean, until we sort of perhaps sieve in for a question or two, I have a question for you guys. How can we deal with family members that don't really have high levels of empathy and aren't really understanding? How can we set like a boundary between us? Like, what's something we can actually do? Because if we don't, we'll literally go nuts.
Yeah, that's a great question. Honestly, that's so key. With this, the biggest thing is actually to remind yourself that no one can change. You can't force anyone to change, and certain people have certain natures that they're already in. You know that they're not going to change, because in the end, change comes from within. So understanding that, and then one, not taking it personally, and two is to actually, you said it previously, to actually to put boundaries, but to actually set time limit as well. So for example, if you know this person won't be as excited when you share something, you know, or won't have that level of empathy or expectation of how you want them to react. So then you can share with them certain something, but then in the end, you'll have that time limit. So for example, I'm going to sit with this person for 20 minutes, even if it is a family member. I'm going to sit with them, I'm going to talk to them, but then that's it, because it actually then affects me. So you have to then put your own emotional health first, because when that gets affected, you won't show up as the right person for yourself or for your loved ones. So put boundaries and actually put time limit with speaking to certain family members who might, you know, either trigger you, or they might just not resonate with you too well. So you can love them, but doesn't mean that boundaries doesn't mean that you love them any less. It means that you actually respect your relationship so much that you want to protect it as much as possible.
Absolutely. We have another question from Jenna. Can you share some strategies for how best to allow yourself to recalibrate your goals and dreams, and celebrate when you accomplish them, especially during these times?
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you for the question. So firstly is to how to get sort of re-inspired in a sense. The first one is to go back to your why. Go back to why you actually started this journey in the first place. Go back to why you wanted this career in the first place. It's not just, oh, because, my parents told me, or because this seems like it was a productive type of decision to make. Go back to why, like, who do you want to impact? How do you want to feel on your day-to-day? What type of life do you want to live? So start actually making a vision. It's not even, you don't have to make a vision board, but to actually write it down, journal it out. Like, I see myself in 5 years living this type of way. So going back to how you want to feel, creating the life that you want to live for yourself and for your future family or your family now, and having that as actual motivation to keep you going. So going back to your, and hanging it somewhere to remind yourself, because we often forget, we often get caught up in the day-to-day and focus on the strategies and the what. We forget to actually remind ourselves why we're doing something. So hang it in your room, hang it by your laptop, hang it when you're brushing your teeth in the morning, hang it somewhere that you get to see it, honestly, because it's actually really good. If you want to incorporate a new habit, tie it in with a habit that you already do. So for example, if you brush your teeth every single day and you want to do something else, tie it in. So even if it's like affirming certain things or reminding yourself of your why, hang it on like the mirror. So you see it when you're brushing, so it becomes like a continuous, and it will constantly remind you. And whenever those days when you're feeling like not as motivated, it'll help you then think, okay, this is why I'm doing it. These are the people that I want to help. This is the impact that I want to create.
Absolutely.
So,
we have one more question, and I think that's a question that personally, it hits a nerve here. Any tips on how to develop confidence or strong self-belief when doing something you've never done? Because of course, this is a time where we start practicing at a skateboard, you start practicing singing or something that's so different. I mean, so many of us have tried to tap into those different avenues, and as a leadership development practice, this is highly relevant as well, to tap into that untapped part in your brain. What are any tips to develop confidence and strong self-belief while doing that, especially when you haven't had success in the past?
Yeah, that's the question. So with confidence, I love using the word personal power instead of confidence. I feel like we have this, we think confidence is something that some people are born with and, some people are blessed with, but standing in like your personal power. So changing the word is actually super powerful. And go back to, like in the presentation before when I said to focus on your physiology or focus on your language, those 3 elements, when you begin to focus on those, so for example, your physiology, if you're imagine yourself feeling confident, how would you stand? What would your body position? There's actually a lot of studies on, for example, doing the power position like this, like the superhero power position, that actually enhances your level of confidence without you even realize. I know it doesn't mean just stand there all day, like, of course not, but it shows that your physiology, how you are standing, how you are moving really impacts your sense of confidence. So begin to actually map out what is the most confident version of you look like body-wise, like whether it's the way they stand, the way they talk, and the language. So focus on the certain moments where you did feel confident and acknowledge that and remind yourself, what, I've actually done this before. So using proof of things that you might have previously overcame and reminding yourself that you've done that you've done this before. So writing down a list of achievements of things that you've previously overcome and that you're proud of yourself with will provide your mind that evidence that you've done this before, and it'll give you that fire of like, I can do this again. So yeah, focus on that, and focus again as well on just, I think the biggest thing is to really write down what your most confident self actually looks like. When we say confidence, it's too broad. So narrow it down from there.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Yaz. I know we do have a few more questions, but we can take them offline. I believe Alison is ready to join us at the moment. So how about we take about a 5 to 15? No, let's take a 5-minute break. And during this break, what we will do is try to use the speed networking feature. Actually, it's going to be a 6-minute break because the speed networking feature is going to be 3 minutes per each individual you meet. So that will be a great chance. We're 24 people right now online. We can meet 2 people that are completely across the world, and it'll be a great chance to have 1 minute to speak about yourself, have another minute to give the other person to speak a little bit about themselves, and have 1 minute to share together. So while we do that for the next 6 minutes, we'll be bringing Alison on from the Canadian Mental Health Association to be speaking about the role of mental health in the workplace, and like how important is it to start developing more awareness, number one, but start to also include more mental health workplace practices in developing our future leaders and generation to be able to be more tolerant and to develop a workplace that can actually make us happier, that can actually be built for our generation that is growing up during these times where we're super anxious, we're worried, and we don't know what the future of work is going to look like. So with that being said, we'll take a break right now. Please feel free to join the speed networking session, and we'll be back very soon. And thank you so much, Yaz, for this incredible session. With doing things online sometimes